Oh, good morning, everybody joining us today. Welcome to our webinar on modern development with Salesforce DX. My name is Shashank. I'm a Developer Relations Senior Manager at Salesforce. And today I'm joined by Satya Shekhar, who is going to take us through the Salesforce DX topic today. Satya, are you ready?
I'm ready, Shashank.
As always.
As always.
As always. Okay. So before we go ahead, let me tell you that because we are from Salesforce, we might make some forward-looking statements about features that are not yet generally available. So don't make any buying decisions based on what we're going to discuss today. So with that out of our way, let me tell you that we're all up for social. You can find us on all the usual social channels at the rate Salesforce Devs on Twitter, the Salesforce Developers Facebook page, Salesforce Developers on LinkedIn, and you can also find all our awesome videos, including all recordings of all the video content that we do on our YouTube channel as well, including this one, which will eventually end up as one of the videos on the YouTube channel. And please also note that I'm sure you have this question, and the answer is this webinar is being recorded.
Every time we get this question, right?
Every time we get this is the most popular question in the history of webinars, right? Is this being recorded?
Right.
So this webinar is being recorded, and the slides and the recording will be posted on the same page where you signed up for this webinar. With that out of mind, let me tell you that a few more housekeeping items are still yet to be discussed. So we will do a Q&A at the end, where we will answer as many questions as possible that are coming from you today. But you don't have to wait till the end to ask your questions. You can ask your questions whenever you get them by just posting them directly in the questions tab that you see in GoToWebinar. Right, feel free to use that questions tab to keep asking your questions, and towards the end we'll try to take as many questions as possible. And if you don't get your questions answered today, you can always post on our developer forums, developer.salesforce.com/forums, and our community will get to it slowly. Right, and also note that sometimes you might have an issue with seeing the slides at once, or some choppy audio or video and stuff. So all you have to do is just end the webinar and rejoin, and that usually fixes 99% of the issues. So with that, let's go into the agenda today, where Satya is going to kind of walk you through us at a high level of what we're going to talk about today. Satya, what do we have in store today?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Shashank. And thank you all who joined us today for the webinar. Before we start our presentation, let me take you through the agenda. We are going to discuss about how we can use Salesforce DX in our software development lifecycle when we are working on the Salesforce platform. So in the process, we are going to talk about the version control, how we are going to use the version control, and how we are going to leverage the metadata and metadata API in our projects. We are also going to talk about our extended CLI, which we can use as a command line. We can enter the command, set the command line, and work with the project there. And we're also going to work with one of the awesome IDE, Shashank, which is VS Code, one of my favorite IDEs.
Mine too.
Yeah. And we are also going to talk about the packaging, the new packaging that we have towards the end of the demo. I'm also going to show how you are going to package your software, whatever we are going to build today.
Sounds good, Satya. Now, before we go into it, I just want to learn a little bit about typically, what is a app development lifecycle like, and how are we solving this?
Yes, that's a very good question. Let's see how generally the app development happens. I'll show you with a typical app development lifecycle. You may have an idea which you want to implement as a project on any platform, not only Salesforce. But today, because it's a Salesforce webinar, we are going to see how it works for the Salesforce platform.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So you have a plan, you build for it, and you make the release of the software. In the process, you may be working on different environments like build environment, testing environment, or any other kind of staging servers and all. So while you work on these environments, you may be mostly working on the code, where you'll be writing some code. Maybe you'll be doing some customizations as well, and also you'll be doing some testing. And you're going to move your code from one environment to the another environment in order to deploy that. All this, right? But now, how do you move your code from one environment to the other environment? In Salesforce, we have different options there.
Chain sets.
Yeah, this is one thing. Chain sets. And we can also use metadata API and our latest package concept, where we can use package of software and move it from one environment to the other environment there.
Yes.
Right?
That's how we have all traditionally been doing it, right?
Yes, but with this there will be a problem because there will be different developers who are working on different environments there to have different customizations. So with that, you may be having different conflicts between the environments. You may be having some other problems like the environments may be overlapped, like some configurations are done there, again done here. And not only that, one important thing is you may not be having a single source of truth. When I say source of truth, I'm talking about the source code. So you may have some source code in build environment, and you may end up with another set of source code in the
Yes.
testing environment. So we cannot be really very sure about what is the current source code in one of the environments.
Because generally, philosophically, there's only one truth.
Right.
And since we are doing it in multiple environments, there are multiple truths, which is not technically possible.
Yes.
So that's not good. It's not
Right.
natural. Doesn't
Not
sound
natural,
natural.
right.
So one source of truth, I think, is a good idea.
Yes. So due to which it may even lead to inconsistent deployments, what. So now, in order to come out of that, I want to take you through some principles of modern software delivery system. So in order to make things work smoothly, let's devise some principles. Here I'm going to talk about 7 principles, which in fact make our modern software delivery very smooth. The first thing is, as I said, it has to be single source of truth, right? Your source code should be there at only one place. If someone changes, whenever you want to see, you can always see the latest source code there. And then it should be modular. All your you should be able to build your project in the form of modules which can be easily assembled and delivered, and team collaboration has to be supported, and you should also stick to some open standards so that it will be easy for you to manage and other people to understand as well. And you should have environments in such a way that they are disposable. Maybe if something goes wrong in an environment, you can just dispose that environment and create a new environment. That possibility should be there. Not only that, you should also be able to distribute your software very easily with a proper packaging in an agile way. And last but not the least, you should be able to continuously deliver your software. You can keep adding more and more features to the software, and then it should be very smooth for you to release your application to the market.
Now, back in the day, there was something called the waterfall model. Which is better, waterfall or agile?
Oh, that's a very
it's a popular
difficult
debate, right? But let's just say we prefer agile.
Right, obviously. Now, how do we improve our developer lifecycle? By taking care of all these 7 principles, right? I was talking about different things. So for any software, you plan for the development of the application, you develop the code, you build the code, test the code, release the code. But our fundamental principle is the source of truth should lie in one place, right? The source should be in a single place. So here we can use a version control system to keep our source of truth. And not only that, while you code, you may require some tools, better CLI or an IDE or some temporary aux, as I said, where we can temporary environments, where we can create an environment and dispose environment. So, and not only that, in order to build, you should be able to do some continuous integration, and you should be able to do continuous delivery. And because we are working on Salesforce, we should be able to use the sandboxes and all other staging servers and all. And of course, package delivery. So these are some set of tools which really make our developer experience really rich.
This is great, Satya. And there's so many things over here. But at a high level, what does Salesforce DX offer specifically? And what does it actually enable based on those offerings? I want to know a little bit about that.
Definitely, I'll let you know. Now, how Salesforce leverages these principles and how it improves its developer experience and what are the components in the Salesforce DX, let us discuss in detail. So to start with, we have a part of Salesforce DX called DevHub, which is very important. You would have heard about it, DevHub.
I've heard about it for the last 2 years.
Yes. So I can say this is the starting point from where we can start developing our applications using Salesforce DX. DevHub is a production org in which we can manage our scratch-offs. Again, I'm using the word scratch-offs, but so let me tell you what are scratch-offs.
Please do that.
Yeah, they are ephemeral. They are like temporary orgs which can be spawned whenever you require, and they have a short lifespan. So after which you can destroy it, or it automatically gets destroyed. Now, if you forget to create an environment and you're not using it, you forget about it, it will be automatically destroyed. So they live to an extent of 30 days. So generally what developers do in our Salesforce DX environment is they develop the applications in their own environment, their own set of configurations, build the applications on the scratch org, move it to the source of truth, then they can destroy the scratch org whenever they don't want it.
So right now we are, in this case, not depending on the org, but depending on an external version control system, which is the actual source of truth.
Right.
That's how we are solving the multiple truths problem.
Yes. And one more thing here is because number of developers may be working on the project, each person may be using a different scratch org. You may want to manage the scratch orgs. You want to see how many scratch orgs were created, how many are active, how many are being used, how many are going to get expired and all. You can do it from the Dev Hub. Anyway, I'll show it with a small demo on how to look into the scratch orgs that are created. And then sandboxes, as usual, when you're working on Salesforce, we cannot avoid sandboxes. We will not avoid sandboxes. We can avoid, but we will not avoid sandboxes because they are more interesting, where we can run our UAT or any kind of stuff there. So Salesforce DX still supports sandbox, and it has one rich CLI, Salesforce CLI, right?
Yes, so, my favorite part about Salesforce DX is the CLI.
CLI, where we can create our projects, create our files, whatever you want to do, just by using the commands. So we have a demo for that even. And then the packages are now reimagined. We have a latest packages called unlock package, which we are going to talk about. So where we can deploy the package, and even after the deployment, the user can make the changes if he wants to. And we are also on the way creating the managed packages for our partners. So while this is the composition of the Salesforce DX environment, it also supports any of the external tools. Now, when we ask a developer to switch to a new developer experience or a new flow of development, probably there will be a lot of resistance, right? Because I'm accustomed to my old tools, some tools which I've been using for years together now. So do I need to really leave the tools behind and start learning new tools there? Not necessary. Salesforce supports different kinds of IDEs. If you want to use any of the IDEs which you are currently using, you can still use those IDEs. Maybe it is force.com IDE, maybe you want to use some other text editor, maybe you want to use VS Code, it's your choice. So it is open to, you are open to use any of the IDEs.
My choice is VS Code. I think it's pretty cool.
And even me. That's the reason I'm going to use VS Code today. And then again, so you can use any of your repositories. You can use any of the version control system. You want to use Subversion, you want to use JIT or any other version control system for that matter, you can integrate with the Salesforce DX. Again, I choose JIT because I use most of it. And you can also integrate with any of the continuous delivery and continuous integration tools there, like let's say Travis, Circle CI, or Jenkins, whatever you want to use, you can use with the Salesforce DX environment.
Okay, so we just spoke about our love for Visual Studio Code, right? And we're saying this is our favorite. And Salesforce DX is also chosen Visual Studio Code as the recommended text editor or code editor. Why is that?
That's a very important question. Why Visual Studio Code? So when I started, I asked that question to myself. The first reason was obviously because it was free.
Okay, that helps.
It's open source, and most importantly, it runs everywhere. Okay,
it's like platform agnostic.
Right. And why Visual Studio Code for Salesforce? Because it supports Salesforce extension pack. Now, Visual Studio Code is highly extensible. You can install any of the extensions or plugins on that environment, on that IDE, and you can start working with it. And we have a very good extension pack for Salesforce DX, where we can run the commands, we can do the editing, we can also debug the source code, whatever you want. So this is a combination of number of other packages as well. This is one more reason why I chose Visual Studio Code. While the third reason is it has an integrated terminal. Now, while I work on the Salesforce DX, I need not really switch to some other terminal window on my system, work there, come back to my text editor, do something, and go back to my folders, do something. I need not really do that. Everything is integrated in the Salesforce DX Visual Source Code environment itself, where we also have inbuilt JIT features. You can commit the code right from the same IDE. So for any reason except for testing your application on your Salesforce, right? You need not leave your Visual Studio Code editor.
So I can just stay on one text editor and still get that IDE kind of an experience.
Right. You have all the power tools ready for you to use right away from the Visual Studio Code.
Okay, so we're talking about new ways of doing it and stuff. I want to get like a better understanding of what is the difference, what will change, or will anything change at all if we are not using Salesforce DX and we want to use Salesforce DX. What is going to be the difference, like the way we develop?
Okay, let me, and maybe you may also want to use the existing flow as well. Will be supported even in the Salesforce DX environment also. Both are really important, right? As you said. So what is the current way of developing the Salesforce application on the Salesforce environment? Let's see that. So when you do when you develop an application on this platform, you make the changes. That's all done in the org, right? You make the changes, and then probably you want to use a change set. So all the UI based changes, you create the change set, you go to setup and click on create change set, and then whatever changes you want to add, whatever components you want to add to the change set, you add there, and then you just promote it from one org to the other org. Maybe different developers are working on the project, so each developer will be working on his own developer sandbox. So here, all the changes made from these developer sandbox can be promoted to the developer pro sandbox, which can further be promoted to staging sandboxes, and then finally to the production. You can deploy to the production. This is how the general development works in our conventional
Salesforce
way.
development.
Yeah, Salesforce development.
This is what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
What are we changing now?
Right. Now, what is changed? That's important, right? What is changed with the Salesforce DX? Let's see. With Salesforce DX, we still support your UI-based changes. So if you have got accustomed to UI-based changes and you want to stick to the conventional way of developing the applications, you can still do it with the Salesforce DX. As I said, it's really flexible. But what is the major change that we got here? The source of truth. Yes. As I said, right? So we need to have a single source of truth. So there will be a version control system. You can use JIT or any other repository for that matter, where you can store your code. Okay, and then how do you develop? Each developer can work on his sandbox, and then he can deploy the code, basically retrieve the code from the sandbox and store it in the version control system. And again, if he wants to deploy it into another sandbox or the same sandbox, he can do that and test it. Right. So here, Salesforce DX, as I said, most of the time we can work using the CLI because that will be easy way to do, at least in software development, where we do most of the code development. So here we have commands to deploy and retrieve, like source colon deploy. Yes, we use a command called force colon source colon deploy, and force source retrieve to retrieve the code from there. Right. This is how we do it. Then how do we deploy it to the sandboxes? Again, we can use the same set of commands. You can use the source deploy to deploy into any of the sandboxes. Now you see, you need not really promote your change, just like changes, right? You need not promote from one sandbox to another sandbox, but you can directly take from single source of truth on any sandbox at any time. You can deploy without any problem.
And so there is, which version of code is being deployed and all that. You have all that control as a developer.
Right, right.
Okay. Now, what if we want to use scratch-ox here?
Yeah. So I showed how to use the developer sandbox. Now, as I said, in Salesforce DX, mostly we working with scratch-ox because that is it is very easy for us to work with different environments, right? Suitable for as per the different developers' own customizations. So we can use push and pull commands, source push pull commands supported by Salesforce DX, and we can in fact replace our developer sandbox with a scratch-ox. Now you can either use your developer sandbox or you can use your scratch org, and then you can make the changes to your application.
And how does that easy source push and source pull keep happening?
So basically, we can use our continuous integration, continuous delivery systems there.
Mm-hmm.
And so because how it happens is basically you can use these commands like a source pull, as I told, and this concept we can call it as source tracking. Basically, you track the source, right?
Okay.
And we can use as I said, we can use because everything is in place now. We can use continuous integration or continuous delivery, whatever you want in your Salesforce.
Okay, so there is also a very popular question that keeps coming whenever we talk about Salesforce DX. That is, people keep saying, I can just use a sandbox for this. Why do I need a Scratch org? And I believe one differentiator for Scratch orgs is easy to maintain and easy to use with the CLI that we'll shortly obviously see in the demo. And what you mentioned right now, source tracking is kind of something that only works with Scratch orgs. Is that correct?
Exactly.
So it makes it easy to push and pull code if you're writing code from your local system or using a version control system.
Right.
Is it as easy as it is with Scratch orgs for sandboxes as well?
Absolutely same. There's no change. There's no change.
Yeah. So the only difference is that with sandboxes, we use the metadata API and all that. We package XML and stuff. Scratch orgs, here we don't need to do all that. We don't have to worry about all that.
Right. You need not really worry about the metadata there because your Scratch orgs are in line with your project structure. So you can directly push the code from your VS Code project into your Scratch org and pull it.
So the biggest differentiator for Scratch orgs, easier to maintain, and source tracking.
Source tracking.
That sounds
right.
That sounds like a thing.
And one more important thing is you can customize your Scratch org as per your requirements.
You can create it as you wish.
Yeah. With all that said, we can also integrate any of the CI or CD systems where we can constantly deliver smoothly our application. And maybe once we build the application, how are we going to send it, or how are you going to ship it? How are you going to package it? That can be done using our packaging system. So we have a new packaging model there where we can create the unlock packages. Again, as usual, we have some CLI commands readily available to create the packages and also install the packages. So you're going to see how easy it is to create the packages with Salesforce DX and also deploy. So how do you do that? Let's assume we have two developers working on two different Scratch orgs, maybe working on two different parts of a project, maybe two different projects.
Or two different packages.
Or maybe two different packages. So you can put those projects in the form of package, whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Right? So you can combine those packages and then or combine the parts of code that are developed by these two users and build a package out of it and deploy a package in the sandbox. Now you can see yellow circle and violet circle there. So they are the different source codes that are developed by different developers. We can deploy it into the sandbox. And not only one sandbox, whichever time you want to deploy, even to the production, you can deploy the package. So this is how the Salesforce DX development works.
Yeah, so this is, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of productivity gain that comes out of using standards that the industry is using. Obviously, there is a reason why they are standardizing things, right? Because it is useful and more productive for everybody, developer, the company, and everything, right? So for people who are more from a Salesforce development background, who are not used to things like version control, can you maybe explain our audience what a version control system is, what does it help us with, and how Salesforce DX enables you to work with version control systems, maybe like Git or GitHub?
Definitely. Probably I would choose to give a demo for that, but still let me tell you how version control system is going to help us. So while you work on the application, you say maybe a developer works on a part of the application, right? He tests that application in his own Scratch org, and he sees everything is fine. then he can pull the code from the scratch into his local system, into his VS Code project. Then he can save that code in the Git repository. He can commit the code in the Git repository. Now, say some other developer is working on the same set of code, but he wants to develop a new feature there. So what he can do is he can check out the code from the Git repository onto his local system. Maybe he can make the changes in the VS Code editor itself, or maybe he can move those changes into his scratch and make further changes, and then he can pull it back and store it in the version control system. So basically, your version control system is acting like a repository, right? Where you are always storing your code. Your safeguard is like a locker for you, right? Your code is always safe. Your scratch outs are temporary. So even your developer environment is temporary. Maybe developer moves from one company to another company. Yes. Developer may also be temporary sometimes, yes. But your code is still safe. Yes. With the version control system.
So it's all about mainly externalizing code or customizations or metadata or anything that you do that is needed to customize Salesforce or build apps on Salesforce, and managing it the way you want it.
Right.
As simple as that. Now we can't wait to see more of this in the demo, Satya.
Yeah.
You can't keep us waiting anymore.
Let's go ahead and let's do a demo there. So let me switch on to my environment. Let's first set up the environment for working, right? Then we'll start working on it. But before that, I want to introduce this scenario. What we wanted to do here today. In fact, I want to build a very big application, very good application using the Salesforce DX environment. But again, you know the time limit, right?
Yeah,
I can't do all
interest of time.
Right. So I want to start with a very simple things, simple concepts in my of my application. So actually, our application is all about a global fruit company which imports and exports the fruits. Okay.
Fruit import export.
From
that sounds like the best idea for the app to demo today.
It imports from different countries. So while it imports, it also needs to keep track of the storage, right? How many fruits are there currently? Probably the wants to place the order. So this should always be a good idea of how many fruits are there and which are fresh.
Yes, I'm sure we need an app to track this.
Right. So we can add features like import date, export date. We can add shelf life and then track the shelf life. And maybe if it has crossed 50% of the shelf life, maybe we can give a better discount to the customers as well.
So in this process, you're probably going to create an app, a custom object, and some custom fields and stuff.
Right.
Now, can this also be added to version control?
Yep.
But this is not code, right? This is customization.
Customizations can also be added to the version control. So whatever is supported in the metadata, that's where I'm going to take you through the metadata report, which has a set of metadata elements that are all supported. So you can add not all the customizations, but most of the customizations I can show you. But you may not be able to add process builder for that matter. We'll see what best we can do.
So what you're saying is any customization can still be code.
Right.
Yes.
So now let's go ahead. First, let's set up a developer hub. As I said, that is the starting point. We need to set up a dev hub org. So you can log into your dev hub org for the very first time using SFDX force : auth : web : login. How do I know? How do I go to this command? So I need to remember so many commands, right?
Yes.
Not in fact.
We need help.
Not in fact. You need not remember all the commands. So for every command, you have a help. You can start with very first command. You only need to remember SFDX force. That's it. And from there, you can start off.
So I thought you're going to do this in the in either a command line or a terminal. Why? How come you're able to do it inside Visual Studio Code IDE?
Yeah, so let me explain what are the different parts of Visual Studio here, right? So this is the terminal which is integrated into the Visual Studio Code.
Oh, it's already integrated into the editor. Oh, okay.
Right. So we are going to create a project. Before we create a project, I'll give you the complete introduction about different parts of this Visual Studio Code. But first, let me show you the Dev Hub, as I said. So we need to create a Dev Hub. You can start with any of your developer editions. That's a new thing.
That brings me to the another popular question. Yeah. Why do we have to sign up for a trial org every time? Because it only lasts for 30 days. And I heard there is a good news for developers about it, where Any developer edition can act as a dev hub now.
Right. So now you need not sign up for that 30-day trial period, trial versions. Rather, you can enable your dev hub right from your developer edition.
Any developer edition.
Any developer edition.
That sounds like music to my ears.
Yes. So let me open one of the dev hubs which I've already created to just show you how you can control your scratch offs. I have created a dev hub. So I'm going to explain how we can create the aliases and all, and how we can open directly from here with our project. We'll learn it while doing it rather. But yeah, it loads the dev hub has to be in your production environment. It's not necessarily for your trial purpose. You can do it in the developer edition, but in general, it will be in your production environment where you can enable, and with that you get few of the items using which you can track your developer hub or all the scratch offs. If you go here, so once you enable the dev hub, you can in fact enable your dev hub from here. Go there and let me type dev hub. Here it goes. So you only need to switch on one button in order to enable the dev hub. That's it. You have a button here. You need to switch on enable. Your dev hub is enabled, right? And you can see one more thing at the bottom. So you can also enable the packaging from this dev hub. So as I said, we are going to talk about the unlock packages. We are going to create unlock packages now, which is generally available. And we are also working on managed packages, which is in the beta.
Are we also demoing unlock packages today?
Yeah, we are going to, if time permits.
Yes, time permits.
Okay, let's go, and let me also show you where you can see your scratch offs. There will be an item called scratch off info, where you can see all the scratch offs that are created and associated with this dev hub. So when you create a scratch off, all the scratch offs that are in fact associated with the dev hub.
That's useful, okay. Definitely.
Yeah, this is one of my scratch offs which I created long back, and it expired on 9th November. Okay, it was only staying for 7 days there. Okay, with that said, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. I can just close this window and then go back to Visual Studio Code, and let us create a Visual Studio project.
You mean a Salesforce DX Visual Studio project?
From where we can start building our application. But before that, let's understand what we have in Visual Studio Code. So when you load your Visual Studio Code, this is the welcome file, where it is really a very big resource where you can find different links, helpful links to learn about the Visual Studio Code and also learn the shortcuts. There are a lot of good links here. And then on the left side, you can see a set of menu. This is the file explorer. So you can see what are the files that you are currently open in your editor. Now you can see I have opened welcome here, and I can see the same file here. I can close from here, or even I can close it from here. And you can also see what are the project folders that are open. We did not create any project folder yet, so you can't see any project folders now. And you can also see the outline of the files that are currently open and any running tasks. And not only that, you can search within your files. You can search any term. If you are searching for a keyword within all of your files in your project, you can do it from here. And it also has integration to the JIT repository. Currently, no JIT is connected. You can also debug your code from here. And not only that, you can add any of the extensions in your Visual Studio Code. Right?
Now I heard we have extensions for Salesforce DX.
Yes.
Did you install them already?
Yeah, you can search for the Salesforce. You can find a lot of extensions here for Salesforce. You can see one important extension which I like most. So that is Salesforce Extension Pack, because not a single extension. It's a combination of many extensions here. So it has Salesforce CLI integration, Apex, Lightning Component Framework, and much more.
So you just have to install this extension pack, and you're good to go to work with Salesforce DX in VS Code.
Right. And in fact, you can develop any other applications as well, because VS Code supports much broader things. Right. Now, with that said, let us go ahead and let us create a project. You can open your any of the terminal from here. You can go here and you can say new terminal, or you also have the shortcuts. You can use any of these shortcuts from here. Right, you can toggle terminal using this. Let me do that. I use the shortcut to open my terminal. And let me go back to my file explorer. Currently, I have nothing. So we can create a project from here. So I want to create let me clear the screen. SFDX force project, and you can see what are the different possible commands by using the -h command, which are minus help, which loads all the possibilities. So I can create the project, I can also upgrade the project. So let us create the project. And again, I don't know what are the options I want to set while creating the project, right? So again, I can take the help and I can see what are the different options possible. Some options may be required. In that case, it mentions it as required option, like you'll have to give the project name here, right? Rest of the options are optional. And these JSON and log level, these are the most common options flags you see in almost most of the commands, where JSON outputs your command output in the form of JSON, and log level you can set whether you want to show the error trace or debug, whatever logs you want. But let's go ahead and let's create the project first. So I want to create a project by using -n. So I can say I can use. Let me once again clear the screen so that it will be easy for you to see. Okay, say SFDX force project, create -n. Let us give a name for the project. Do you suggest anything?
Yeah, fruit import export.
Okay, fruit import export. Okay, let me call it as fruit import export. This is my project name, and but before creating, make sure you are in the right directory. Okay, let me once make sure that I'm in the right directory here, because it's going to where you want to store the project, you need to be in the directory. Let me do a pwd, probably I'm in my root, so I want to shift to my favorite directory, right? So I'm working on this webinar today, so I've created a directory for it. Let me go there and let me create a project here. So I'll create our force project create -n fruits import export, right? So let me create this project. So what it does is it not only just creates a project by its name, but it also creates a project structure. You can see what it has created now. It has created different folders and different necessary files to work in the project. Now you can go here and open your newly created project by just clicking add folder and going to the directory where you have created the project. It was in SFDX webinar, and our project folder, I believe it is fruits import export, right? So let us add it to our Visual Studio Code. Now you can see a project here, right, which has config and force app and some more files here.
So there is the specific structure that I'm seeing in the way this project has been created automatically. Is this like a Salesforce DX specific format or something like that?
Yes, yes. We have some important files, at least two very important files which we need to know about. The first one is what we have in this project. This is defined within the SFDX project.json. So in fact, you can create project. While you create project, you can specify the directories where you can find your source code. You can, in fact, like maybe your project is made up of many packages. Down the line, maybe you want to create many packages. You can define all your packages in this package directory. And if you want, you can make one of the package directories as the default.
Okay.
And here we have given the login URL. Maybe you are want to give your domain specific login URL. You can give there. And we are currently working on API version 44, and maybe you want to work on previous versions, you can do that, or maybe change the version. This is what we have in our project JSON. But this is not the this is not just the thing which we are going to learn about project JSON. We are going to work a lot as we build our application.
So this is more of a configuration for this project.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Now we have just set up a Visual Studio workspace project folder there where we can start working. And I told one more important thing other than DevHub is scratch arcs. So you want to create these scratch arcs, so you can define different scratch arc definitions in your configuration with different names. So now I'm taking the default definition name, say project scratch dev.json. You can add more scratch arc definitions, and depending upon your requirement, you can customize the environment for the scratch arcs in this definition file. Okay, and when you create a scratch org using one of those replication files, that environment will be set by default. For instance, I'm here creating a scratch org for the developer edition. I could have in fact created it for the unlimited edition or enterprise edition as well, right? And here in the org preferences, I've enabled one feature. In fact, there is a very big list of features that you can enable even before creating this scratch org. So that means what? You are customizing your developer org, that is scratch org,
before even creating it.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, so are there other things that you can add as by default enabled and stuff?
Yeah, we'll work with the project and we'll learn what are the other things that we can add within our project here. But now in our development lifecycle, again going back to the development lifecycle, we just started creating our application, right? So we have set up our Dev Hub, we have set up our Visual Studio Code work folder, we have set up the configuration files required in order to create this scratch org. So the most important thing which we need to set up now is our repository. Right?
Let's do that.
GitHub. Yep.
Let's use version control. What's your favorite version control system?
So obviously it is Git. Okay. Let me go to GitHub. Let us create a repository here. I'll create a new repository. You can go to your profile, and under that you can see repositories, or else you can go from here. So there are different ways where you can reach out to your repositories page. And let's create a new repository. You want to name it again?
Should we give it the same name? What do you say?
Yeah, you can give the same name, or maybe some other good name. Global Fruits Repo.
Global Fruits Repo. Yeah, that sounds
good, cool, right? So let us create a repository here. So we have just created a repository, and we can take help of this Git help guide, using which we can make our project, whichever project we have just created, as a Git enabled project. Let us go do that. Now I'm going to connect our project to the Git repository. That can be done, again, going back to the command line here. Let me clear it, and let us go. Let us take these commands as it is. Let me take git init command from here and run it here. So I just run git init. It says it's going to create a file called .git, and it has made our current folder as Git repository. Probably I want to, let me check the folder here. I'm in Salesforce DX webinar. I need to go back to my project folder there and then create a Git repository. So I made a mistake. No worries. I will remove my .git file from here, and let us create a Git repository in our folder. Let us go to our folder here. That is fruits import export, right?
Yes.
So I went to fruits import export, and I'm running the git init command here. So we have just initialized the Git repository.
So we just started using version control.
Right.
I'm excited.
And let's get started with other things. Let us add our readme.md file that is already created by our Salesforce project. So I'm just adding that file to my Git repository using the add command. And then let us do our very first commit. Let us do a commit just to get started with our repository. So we have just made a commit there, and then I want my remote system. So I want to connect with my, you know what, in Git you are going to create a master, right? That is the main source code, and probably for different development purposes, you may be creating some branches there. And down the line, you want to commit to the branches and then merge it to the master. That makes the things easy, right? You're not going to disturb the code. You're putting an additional log there to your code, so that your code will not be disturbed.
Okay.
So let us run this command as well, and let us make our first push into our Git repository. So I'm just pushing my code for the very first time from Git repository. I just followed the commands, whatever is there in my GitHub. Right? Let's go and see if we got that here. You can go to the code. You can see it has created a branch master, and you got your readme.md file there. Now, let us start working with our code. We are going to write the code in the Visual Studio. So for that, I'll create a branch. So I can use JIT checkout, right, minus B, and I can use some branch name. Let us give dev. Does that sound good?
Yep.
So I just created a branch and I've switched to that branch so that whatever code changes I can make it. So this is any conventional developer who works on JIT uses the same approach to store the code.
So there is one master repository,
right?
And a developer creates a branch of it, like goes away from it, makes his changes, and then once he's done, can he just, add his branched code back to the master repository?
No, without the permission, not without the permission of the administrator there.
So that is where version control helps.
Really helps.
Right? Okay.
Really helps. We can make the comparisons with the master and see what are the changes that have come up, and then we can merge it. So let's go ahead now.
So there's so much control, which is good, right?
So
everything can be controlled if
right.
you use version control, is what I understand.
Right. In fact, your development lifecycle itself is controlled there.
Yeah.
Now that we have created JIT repository, let's go ahead and let's start working with our project. Let's create the project. Okay. In order to create the project, we want to create a scratch out for the developer, right? Let's see how to create a scratch out then. So for that, we can use sfdx force:org. I don't remember the exact command.
I remember, but let's show how to use it. Use it help.
Maybe. So we can use the create command to create it. We can see the help and then see what we can do. Not only that, Shashank. So you can, if you want, you can work from the terminal. But most common commands are already placed by you to easily use within your a tool called panel, right? So you can start your panel there, like a command pane, where you can enter. You can see here command pane. You can go there and you can start entering your commands. It shows a command pane. You can see if you type sfdx, it shows all the possible commands there. There are so many commands. In fact, you can create your org even from here. You can create a default org. You can create or you can open the org from these commands. But I choose command line because most of the people prefer this, and you can do a lot of things from the command line there.
Control again.
Yeah. So again, I'm opening this H, wherein again, as I said, these two are the most common things, and of course, even -w is common most of the CLI commands there. But let's see what is really needed here in order to create the scratch. So one idea I suggest is you use an alias so that you can easily open the scratch out whenever you want. And rest of the things you can control for how many days you want your scratch out to live. So default is maximum is 30 and default is 7. If you don't mention anything, you don't use this -d flag, it creates for 7 days. Now let's go ahead and create the scratch out quickly with simple options. You can also see an example here. If you want, you can directly take this example and paste it here. But yeah, I don't want it to be test or right. I want to give some my own alias. Let us see what are the different things that we have here. So we are using sfdx force or create, and we are giving -f option, where -f you use it to store the scratch out definition file, which file you're going to use. As I said, you can create any number of scratch out definition files within your config, but I want to use this project scratch definition.json because that's the default file that's readily available for me. So I can quickly do it. So let me type in here. Let me say project -scratch. I should be careful typing not to make any spelling mistakes. Even if I do, no worries. It's going to it's going to show you the scratch definition.json. If it doesn't really work, if the file is not found, it's going to throw in another anyway.
So the nickname that we gave for our scratch out is developer.
Right.
Easy to remember.
Let's go. Let me run this command. So while it creates the scratch out, like it is going to create scratch out as per all these preferences that you're given here. Maybe you want to give more preferences. You can go back to your developer resources, developer.salesforce.com, where you can find a lot of resources. You can even see the metadata API report there, and many other helpful tools are available. Right. So our scratch is created successfully with some username. Now you need not really remember this username. You can see the alias. So let us log in with our alias there.
So what does SFDX force org list do?
It is going to list out all the scratch-offs, including even your developer hub that are currently available in your edition or that are currently associated with your dev hub. You can see I have a dev hub. I have some orgs which are already authenticated, but this is the scratch org which you have just created with an alias developer. So let us open our scratch org. force:/org:, open. This is the command to open the scratch org, and we can use because we have created an alias. You can use an option called -q, and you can give the name of the alias. So developer again. So whenever you have a confusion or doubt, you can go use your -h and see what that flag exactly means.
-h is our savior then.
Yep. So because I know -u is what we can use in order to open that scratch org, so I just used -u. Now it directly opens your scratch org in your browser there, in your favorite browser. My favorite is Google Chrome anyways. So once it opens here, you can see that this org looks just like a developer edition. So whatever you want to build, you can build here. So I want to quickly build an object called fruit. So I'm going to object manager. Let us create an object, a custom object. Let's allow, no problem. Let us create a custom object and give the name as fruit. I'll give the name as fruit, and yeah, and I can give some fruit ID or fruit name as my default ID. Let me give fruit ID here. I'll give auto number. Let us start with some notation there, and starting number I've done. So whatever options you want to put, you can put here, no problem, as per your choice. I also want to create a custom tab, right, so that we can test it. Let me save it, and let us create a custom tab as well very quickly. These are the most fundamental things, right? And that's why I like Salesforce. We can very quickly create the application. So my favorite is Apple, so I'm giving Apple theme there.
Because it's also fruit.
Right.
Is that why?
Yeah. And let us say next. Let us accept the defaults because the purpose here is to have the demo, but I'm not including the tab in any of my apps for now. Let us save it. We'll create an app. So I just saved my tab. I created my object. Let's quickly add a couple of fields there, maybe country or maybe fruit name. So let's give text, and then let me go here. Again, let's keep all the defaults as it is. Let us give some fruit name, and okay, again fruit name, and let us give length. How much length do you think it's required?
100 maybe.
100. Okay, cool. Let us say next. Let's keep all things default. Let us create a couple more fields, or at least one more field there. Country. Let us see that. Let me create a text file again, a text field, or any other field. If you want to create a pick list, you can do that. Country, yeah, and let me give 100, and let us save it. I just saved. I just created few fields. Let us also quickly create an application using our app manager. So the developer has created an S object. He's creating an application. Maybe he wants to check out the code into his Visual Code project and then use it. Let's create a Lightning application. Let's call it as Global Fruits App, some name, or you can call Fruit Tracker or whatever.
I like the name Global Fruits App.
Okay, let's say next. Let's keep all the things default. Let us add our fruit item because we want to test it. Let us add this. Let us give permission to our system administrator to work on that. Maybe you can also create permission sets. Even permission sets can be exported as a code. as you were asking about configuration, right? So that's it. Now we have created an application. Let's go and see that the application is readily available. And if you want, you can add the fields. But yeah, the developer job is done, right? Now you want to save the code. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code here. And then you can see we are not having our application here at the moment. I can see these 4 apps. This is the folder which is going to store the application code. It's not readily available at the moment. You can check out the application using your favorite SFDX force source if I have a confusion, as I said, I can use -h. So I can say force : source : pull, because I want to pull the code from my scratch org into my Visual Code project. So I'll use force : source : pull, and I need to give the name again from which particular scratch org I want to get. So I need to give -u option there. So I can give -u. What is the scratch org name? It is developer, right?
I remember it was developer.
Yeah. So let us pull the code from here. So now we have pulled the code from the source.
So when we pull the code, does it bring everything or only customizations? It's only customizations, right?
It builds only customizations. There I see an error. There's a problem, right? It says that there is an improper input and it's failed to get this metadata app menu. This is one of the known bugs in the recent version, but no worries, we are going to fix it soon. So we can take this file name, and while you get your files, if you want some of the files to be ignored, you can ignore using the .force ignore configuration file. You only need to add the list of file names which you want to ignore. So I'm just adding apps which are there. Let us save it.
So in situations where you don't want to pull particular metadata items or something, you just have to put it here.
Yes.
That's very convenient.
Right. And again, I'm running the pull command. Now I get the source code here. I get the source code here. Once source code is populated, you can start working on it. Maybe you can safeguard. You can see here, these directives are automatically populated. It has a global fruits app and all other object and all of the settings are readily available.
So everything is, since everything is represented as XML, end of the day, it's just code.
Right. And you can see the output, very beautiful output here in the command line interface. Let me again go back. Clear this. You want to send the code to the Git repository, save it. You can do it. You can say SF. You can just do it from here, or maybe you can even do it from your Git. As I told, it is integrated here. You can go here. You can see there are 19 changes which I want to push to the Git, and I can in fact stage them by using this plus sign. What happens is when we stage it, they are ready to push. They are from our local system. We are going to put it in the staging part, right? And then once it is staged, you can see all these are added. Now you can commit your code. So give some commit message, initial app.
So I see that you're now using the command palette instead of direct commands. So you can either do this or that. This, that.
Anyway, so earlier we have done with the command palette. Now we are directly doing it. So I'm giving some initial message, some message there. So my changes now, I can see there are 0 changes. Everything is ready. Everything is committed. We need to push these changes to our server. Let us push it to the GitHub. It says the branch developer is not there because we have created it locally. We have not yet pushed the branch. So let us say OK, so that it creates a branch and then pushes the changes to the GitHub. You can go back to GitHub quickly and see. Once it is done, you can go back to GitHub and see that your changes should be readily available there. Let us refresh the page once. So let us switch the, we have 2 branches. You can see our branch is also created. You can go to dev and you can see that your code is readily available now. right? You can create a new pull request from here, and you can compare the code. You can see what are the differences that are made, and then you can just merge it. Basically, you can create the pull request as a developer. Here, the developer job is done. Now, the administrator, who serves the development administrator, that guy is going to check whether the code is really good. Then he can merge the pull request into the
Typically, there
master.
will be like architects who do code reviews and stuff that will probably look at it, right?
Right. Now that we have created the code and then we have pushed it to GitHub, so let's go ahead and create a package out of it.
Yes. Now we are done with Scratch.org. Let's push this as a package in Sandbox, production, where are we pushing?
Right. We will push it to the sandbox, right, for now, because it's only a very beginning application, right?
Okay.
We need to build
it
a
needs
lot
further
yet.
testing. So let's put it in Sandbox.
Sandbox. So let's go ahead. I've opened project.json. This is one important file which are going to work. But let us create a package now. What's the command to create a package? I remember it is SFDX force : package : create. This in fact creates an unlock package. You can see the help. What are the different options we need to give there? You can go through the different options. Maybe I can password protect my package if you want by using the -k option, right? Let's go ahead. Let's take one of the examples from here.
The best part is there are even examples that you can directly use.
Right.
By just replacing some names and stuff.
Yes. So here you can see we need to give the package name. So whatever name you want to give here. So let me call it as global fruits.
Global fruits package.
Yeah, global fruits package. If you want to make PKG,
okay.
Fine, shortcut. -t, you'll have to give this option whether you're making an unlocked package or a managed package. That is required. And this is also one more mandatory field, -r, which gives the which folder you're going to package. Now I'm going to package everything, all the source code, which is in Force app. So I can Force app there. Let me press enter. So it creates a package, and once it creates a package, can we deploy it directly? No.
Why not?
No, we cannot do that unless we create a version of the package.
Okay.
So we also need to create a version.
So you can only deploy package versions,
right.
not packages.
Not packages.
And I believe that is because of version control again.
Right. Okay. Now you can see it has created a package with a package ID, right? It says successfully created a package. And did you notice this? SFDX product.json?
There are some changes.
Yes. So it has updated. This file is updated with our newly created package name. And not only that, it also has given an alias called global fruits package. Now it is ready. You can create a version. Let us quickly create a version here. Force : package. We'll create a version. Version : create. This is the command we need to use. Again, let's see the help file for that. So you can use different options. You can give the directory, you can give the package name. If you want to give a password, you can give the password. If you're not giving a password, in that case, you'll have to say that you're skipping the password, right? You need to, one of these two things are mandatory. So let us take again, let's take from this example. Let us do this. Let me take this example probably, or even the first example. I'll just copy it. So here, package alias, we need to give our whatever is our alias name. So this is global fruits package here. Let me copy this. Yeah, let's go back to your command line and change it to your name, global fruits package. As I said, we need to give the -x option in case you want to skip the password, and it's better you give a wait time. I did not show anything about wait time. So you know what does it do? Why I'm giving wait time here?
It waits.
Yeah, but why I wanted to wait here is because I'm while I create a version here, in the background, Salesforce DX is going to deploy my application into a OR and check if it has broken, if it has any dependencies that are not packaged into your package there, so that you can fix it. So while it takes some time, it may take few more seconds to create, probably because we are almost running out of time, right,
Yes.
Shashank? So I wanted to show a lot more. Again, because of the time limitation, while it creates this package, I believe we can take few of the questions.
Yes, let's take a few questions and come back to what do we do after the package is created.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some questions around dependencies. How do you manage dependencies when working with the package development model?
Okay, I'll show you one thing. So dependencies, basically a package may be dependent on other components, or sometimes a package may even be dependent on other packages, right? So in that case, we can define everything in our SFDX project.json, where we can show all the packages. Let me show with an example here. Probably I can take the sample apps, sample gallery. Let's take one of the apps from the sample gallery and show you how the package dependencies can be created. So let me go to one of the apps here. Let me go to its Git repository and open its project JSON file. So you can see that I have a SFDX project JSON file, and in this file I have different packages. This one package, which is a base objects package, right? Down the line, you can see here we have another package which is have a dependency on the earlier package, right? So you can in fact configure everything in your JSON file here. So you can configure all the dependencies there.
So we just need to make sure that it is part these package names and the exact dependent version is part of the Salesforce DX project.
Right.
That's all.
That's all.
Okay. So there is another question around how do we manage conflicts? That's obviously the version control system which takes care of all those things, right?
Right.
And let's see what else do we have here. There is another also one of my favorite questions actually. So a lot of situations where there are admins and developers working together, and in those situations, how does this whole thing work? Because from what I remember, I believe unlock packages are kind of made exactly for this reason.
Yeah, where you have the flexibility of making the changes even after deploying the application.
So basically, to give a short answer to that question, it is basically a friendship that has to be there between an admin and a developer. A developer can push a version of the package, an admin can look at it or is aware of it, and admin wants to make changes. He goes ahead and makes all these changes and just lets the developer know, and the developer is capable of pulling those changes back into the version control system, and he can make sure it's going to be part of the next version.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, it also means that the developer will override any changes. So we are kind of making sure that admins and developers are friends with each other, right?
Yes. So
right.
Before we take that question, Shashank, I believe our package is ready here.
Let's get back to the package now.
Yeah, it has successfully created the package. So what we can do is we can add a sandbox so this is one more way of authenticating any of your developer edition, right? Where maybe want to work on sandbox. In that case, you'll have to give the URL. There will be an option for the URL -t or something. I don't exactly remember, but you can give the URL as test dot something, the sandbox URL that can be added to your dev hub. But for our demo purposes, I'm going to create an alias called fruit sandbox, and I'm going to use one of my developer edition as the sandbox for today. So this is a command which you can use. I think I made a spelling mistake. It is SFDX force web login. So it is going to load the login page of the Salesforce org, where we can log in using our credentials. I think I can use newly created. Let me do this. sfdx@sales.com. I'll not spell out my password. Don't worry. Let us log in here. Once you log in, so let me enter my password once again. This is really tough. Yeah, once you log in into your Salesforce org, your Salesforce is authenticated, and you can see that is added to your Dev Hub. Okay, I'm just allowing it.
So you can add any environment to the Salesforce CLI, not just ScratchOps. You can work with sandboxes directly. You can work with production directly, which is not ideal, but it is possible, right?
Right.
And all you have to do is just authenticate.
Yes, and you can see that it has successfully authorized this Salesforce with the name that will be listed here. You can see SFDX Force org list, and you can see that your all newly authenticated org is connected to your Dev Hub there. So once it is connected, we can deploy the package using our one more favorite command, force package install. You can see I have this fruit sandbox with my new test ID, and it is connected to my Dev Hub. So let us install the package once by using SFDX force package install. Let us see the help. If you need to give any important command there, we can directly use any of these things here. So I can just copy again from the example. But if you are interested, you can go through these different options while you install your package, right? And one more thing which you need to notice here is when the package is created, it gives you the URL here. Right? You can directly use this URL to install the package, or you can use your SFDX command to install the package. So we are taking this command and we are trying to install it. So let me copy the example straight away from here. Let us copy this and paste it. I can use either my alias, I can use the ID which I want to install there. Maybe I can take the ID from here, or I can copy this alias. It really doesn't matter. So alias is the simple way, but let me once do it with ID here because it's already there on my screen. That's it. Once I run this command, no default username. I need to give my org name as well. So let us give -u.
So that means you can actually set up a default username as well.
Yes.
Which we didn't do, but ideally it's possible, right?
No. Yeah, which we did. If we would have set up a default username, it will be installed there. So let's install it on Fruit Sandbox. So once installed, it sends out a mail saying that it is successfully installed. The package is installed, just like any of your other packages, managed and unmanaged packages. So it says it's still in progress. You can use the -w command to check whether it is installed successfully or not, or else it gives you another command here. You can straight away copy this, paste the command, and check the status if it is successfully installed.
So while that is happening, let's take a couple of questions which are kind of related. Right. One is, if there is an existing project, how do you convert it into the Salesforce DX project format? And I think it's just a matter of a single command. Is that true?
Yes, we can use SFDX force source convert, which converts you can convert your source code to the metadata format, and from the metadata format to the source code as well.
You have to pull it as metadata API format, which is the default. Generally, that's what happens. You just have to say convert, and you're good.
Yes.
Yep.
So now you can see that it is installed properly, and I can open my sandbox and see it should be working there. Now it is deployed.
And while that is opening, let's also take the other half of the question, which is. Again, one of the reasons why we built Salesforce DX, which is about if you have a lot of existing code, a lot of existing customizations, a lot of existing orgs, how does Salesforce DX fit into this? Or how do you work with Salesforce DX? Or how do you modularize and use Salesforce DX?
Yeah. Let me before answering your question, probably let me show you the installed packages that our package is installed here. And yeah, you can see that global fruits package is installed here, and then you can start open your application, start working it. Yeah. So can I have the question once again, Shashank?
So the question is, when we have like a lot of existing code or a lot of existing orgs where there needs to be customization done, or a lot of existing code that has to be converted, how do you fit Salesforce DX into this, or are you supposed to just switch to Salesforce DX, or how do you make your overall development modular?
So basically,
mainly for existing repos, which we didn't address in the demo because demos can get complicated.
right.
So in existing code situations, how do we imbibe the Salesforce DX thinking?
Basically, you can clone the existing code into your directory, and then convert it into your Salesforce DX project, and straight away you can start using it.
And I believe there is another way of doing it. What I heard from you recently is that you can also just build a small part of the code and just once you're done, just push it to a larger code base, which is basically what we were trying to do with the GitHub master branch and things like that.
That's where the Salesforce DX really helps. We can modularize it. We can only work on a part of the code as a project, so you can create as many projects as you want for the one single org there, and then you can start working on different parts of the code.
Yeah. So in the interest of time, that's pretty much the amount of questions we could take. And let's just quickly wrap up a couple of things that we have in store for you. And if you want to learn more about Salesforce DX, there is this amazing trail which is completely dedicated to Salesforce DX that you can take on you and me, our favorite website, trailhead.salesforce.com. And at the same time, you can also feel free to join our Trailblazer community group, bit.ly/webinar in APAC. This is where we keep posting about the updates on webinars. We keep posting recordings of the webinars. And in case you want to join or present at our webinars like Satya did today, you can do that as well. The link is on the screen, and we also posted it inside the chat window as well. Feel free to just join the group and stay posted. You can also you can ask questions, one or two questions that you might want to get answer to that we can get to. We can do that as well. And with that, thank you so much, everybody. I know we have been very enthusiastic and went over time this time, but I think it was a great demo, Satya. Thank you so much.
And I believe the topic is also like Salesforce DX is all about complete development lifecycle.
Lifecycle, right? We have
to
show the life cycle, and I think we did a pretty good job of managing it with questions and talking about like give an introduction as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. You will be you will be asked to fill a survey with feedback on how we are doing with this. Please help us out in making our webinars better. And until next time, have a nice day.
Thank you all.